And we are. Okay, welcome everyone to a meeting of the Early Childhood Subcommittee of Ways and Means. Today we're taking up just one bill. This bill is dual assigned and we feel like we have it in very good shape. I'm going to discuss the bill briefly and take some questions. We have an amendment and we'll see if we're satisfied enough with it to recommend that the committee vote on it today, right? Right there, Analyst Johnston, is that correct?
That is correct, sir.
If we do so, we could vote on it committee today. Okay, this House Bill 944, which is, I don't have the title right in front of me, but it's a bill that creates a seed program or a startup program for family child care centers. It creates a grant program to do that. Grant is there's $450,000 total dollars in the grant for 2 years, each of 2 years. The grants will be for a maximum of $150,000. They could be less. And the drafter of the bill put in some language to try to make sure that it was well spread around the state, but the language was somewhat not parallel case. And so we put in our own language, and Alistair, it's written really small over here to my right. We can talk about, there are two things that I've discovered exist in the state. There are child care licensing districts, and there are child care resource centers. They don't match exactly in the way they work, but the child care resource centers are the ones who could manage one of these startups and help. I understand Montgomery County is a similar program, and over 2 years they've had between 30, they didn't have an exact number, but between 30 and 50 new family child cares have opened. So we get pretty good bang for our buck here if we get this going. These resource centers help them with regulations and with finding and making sure their space is good and a whole lot of things. And the way it works is a county or counties can become interested, and what they'll do is they can establish an MOU. The amendment says they can establish an MOU with a child care resource center that exists in at least one of their child care licensing districts. So they find one and they get working with them, and they have to provide a matching grant. So the total amount of money that they'll use could be up to $300,000 over the course of the year to establish new family child care centers. If they get an MOU that says they only need 100 and they match with 100, then that's 200. Although the Maryland Family Network advises that 300,000 is kind of the going rate to get this program off the ground. And I'm sure they would advise, the Child Care Resource Center would advise that. MSDE administers the grants. It will be 3. We thought about putting something in to say that it would have to be 3 different child care resource centers the next year. We'll see how it goes this year. Maybe we'll make it different ones next year, but maybe not. Maybe we'll have to see how much interest there is. I would like to believe there would be some. I didn't really read the amendment, but I think Alistair described it pretty well. Okay, so any questions on the bill, what it does, or the amendment? The amendment just kind of set out how a little more of the logistics. Yes, Delegate Lasanti.
Yeah. Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. I was just curious if we have a list of where these resource centers are. I'm just curious if we have one in my county.
So if you go if you go to Maryland Family Network's website and type in child care resource, the list comes up.
I'm sorry, Maryland. What? Maryland
Family Network. You're certain to have one. If you don't, then Cecil and Hartford might have one together. They are in the same child care licensing district. And they might have one resource center. I wish I had the link ready. I had it up a while ago.
Okay, Maryland Family Network and
just search child care resource centers. Bar. And while she's doing that, Delegate Shoemaker.
Thank you.
So who would be able to avail themselves of this grant?
It's my understanding that it would be groups or people that were interested in establishing a family child care center. For definitional purposes, that means they do it. They're much more home-based for the most part, and they serve 8 or fewer students. These are ones that we've lost. According, and I'm going to call on him in a second. I think Clinton McSherry from Maryland Family Network will confirm that we've lost many more family child care centers than we have, and even proportionally to the number of students. Mr. McSherry, do you want to comment on that briefly?
You're absolutely right. You're absolutely right, Mr. Chairman. I'll show myself.
Clinton McSherry represents the Maryland Family Network. The site you're looking on there, Delegate Lasanti.
I found it.
Good. Well,
Thank
my
you.
instructions were okay. And I'll tell you, I got my instructions from other people, so they're good teachers too. So, Mr. McSherry, if you just quickly talk about why we're focusing on family child care centers and how they'd be the recipients.
So we're focusing on family child care providers, Mr. Chairman, as you point out. Their numbers have dropped precipitously over the last 15 years from more than 12,500 to roughly 5,000 now. Meanwhile, the capacity for child care centers has stayed more or less the same. It might have gone up just a little bit, but family providers are frankly in a free fall. And that cuts off a huge, very, very important part of the child care supply chain. Family child care providers often serve rural communities where centers are not viable. They often serve under-resourced communities in urban areas as well. They are, in fact, care of choice for a number of communities for whom English is not the first language, let's just say. So there are lots and lots of reasons why we think family child care is just a critical part of the child care supply chain, and yet their numbers have declined as precipitously as I said. And this is a very important way to throw them a lifeline and try to encourage more people to enter the field. And not only that, sir, but also give some sustainability practices for those that are in the field now, so we don't continue to hemorrhage them.
That's excellent information. And the short answer is this is seed money to start some new businesses in Maryland. Okay. That's a very short one. And we're obviously looking at specific businesses because it's the stuff of this committee to worry about that sort of thing and other things like it. Does that do it for you? Good. Delegate Astanti, you found the list? Do you have any questions about what's on there, or are you okay? You're muted.
Thank you. I'm fine. I was just looking at it and just noting that Hartford and Cecil County have a shared resource.
Right. And if you look up on I think it's on MSD website, I can't remember. I just put it, if you put in childcare licensing districts or regions, you get a slightly different list. It's about the same size, but not exactly. And they don't line up. And that's why the language is, it says, in order to be eligible for a grant of this section, a county government body or multiple county government bodies that are located within the same child care licensing region shall sign a memorandum of understanding with the child care resource center located in that child licensing region. Alistair, actually, I don't know they have to both be located in the same one.
Right. I think that needs a slight tweak. I think it should be that it's a child care resource center that is located
in one of their licensing regions.
Yes.
Okay. Because they may not, like, suppose, Carroll County and Howard County, I don't think, but they may be. So let's do Carroll County and Frederick County may not be in the same one. And so then but what if they want to work together? They should be able to find a resource center in one of their licensing districts. Mm-hmm. Maybe those counties don't feel like they want to, chunk up the full 150,000, but they want to get together, and Carroll County says, we'll do 50, and Frederick says they'll do 100. And then Frederick expects to get a little more bang for their buck, and they probably would. Mm-hmm. Any other questions on the bill or its amendment? Okay, I'll take a motion on the amendment if anybody would like to move it.
Move the amendment.
Okay, I have a motion and a second.
Second.
And it's properly seconded. All in favor of the amendment signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Butler, that's a cool picture. It looks like it's really you, but I'm assuming. Any opposed? I will say parenthetically that Delegate Butler has the best one. Sometimes I really think it's him, the way he's sitting there looking at me. So, but he's holding really still. Okay, on the bill as amended, do I have a motion?
Move favorable.
I have a favorable. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second. It's motion and properly seconded. All in favor of a favorable report on this bill as amended signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay, it looks like it's unanimous. And our business is done today. Keep your eyes out. We got a couple more bills to deal with later in the week. Appreciate your guys' flexibility in showing up. And a couple of us are heading to other subcommittees. Thank you.